Hello, everyone. This is Rudy Giuliani, and this is, as you know, America's Mayor Live. Now, if I look like I have a little wet stains on my suit, it's not because, like Joe Biden, I'm dropping food on me. It's because I was in the rain to come back in here. It's raining out, and it's been one of those on again, off again days in Dover, New Hampshire, and our birds are, man, they filling up, Ted. They're getting ready.
I thought it stopped raining. It does look like
Dr. Maria's going to do some research, she said. She's going to tell us exactly. She said there's probably people around here who know exactly where they go.
Where the ducks go?
Where the mallards go. Where they
stay with us next hour. We'll play some. We'll play some clips.
I'd like to know where they came from. I want to question them. Oh,
I
forgot. I want to question everybody. It's just my background. Hey, you have a right to remain silent. Everything you say. So I'm sorry to be so well, I don't know. I'm not sorry. It's a good thing to do this. There was a column in the Post, I think the Post, or maybe the Wall Street Journal today, by John Lott. I know John Lott from the Justice Department, and John Lott is probably John's a lawyer. I don't know that he's a statistician, but he's probably one of the best interpreters of statistics that I've ever seen, using logical, what I would call Aristotelian logic. Now, he picked on one subject, but you could make a list of these, and my, would this be a good way of trying to learn something from this tragic shooting that would help us in the future to try to reduce the number of these shootings. And he came up more than one, but I'll tell you the one that struck me, that he made the strongest point about. He made the point that in the crazy ravings of this guy, the trans agenda guy, he kept talking about wanting to be at that particular area, wanting to be at that particular area. And of course, all of the left wing, we must have gun control newspapers who probably know that that's the best way to get more people killed, because they are on the side of the communists, right? And they, of course, they ignore the fact that the example that they're using here is sickeningly laughable, since Minnesota has every gun control law known to man. And it is a left-wing, possible province of Red China, with a governor who's made 30 trips there, was educated there, got a lot of money from them, I think, for his business going back and forth. I made the long trip, I think it was 30 times, with 50 kids to get them brainwashed. And is one of the few people that claims not to be a communist, who talks very highly about the morality of China. In fact, we should get him involved to help us in the Middle East. They're so moral. So, I mean, he makes believe he's a Chinese communist. And he knows he can do that because nobody will pay attention to him, not even the right-wing press bother to ever analyze all of the unbelievably strong circumstantial facts that pointed to a guy who was groomed to be a Chinese communist from out of school. So they're going to have every wacky, crazy Chinese communist, Marxist communist things going on in Minneapolis and in Minnesota. They got a mayor who's a child, an incompetent, an idiot, probably made one of the dumbest mistakes, one of the most catastrophic mistakes in the history of the United States as a mayor, which is to give up his police precinct, to a wild mob that then really gave a great deal of support to all of the other Soros-funded crazy riots all throughout America. Notice you can't do quite a one-to-one comparison, but you can get pretty close to it, that all the riots were in Soros jurisdictions, meaning he purchased a DA there. DA's races in some of these places never cost more than $1 million. He would put in 10, 8, 5, 10 million and get the incompetent usually public defender, whose major job is to get people out of jail, which is what he wanted, DA, and they let people out of jail. They let all the rioters out. So this is the place we find ourselves with the Annunciation Church and School. And if you look at his writings carefully, which I did, you will see that this guy selected that place, among other things. There was a historical association with it, but he was quite cognizant of the fact that it was a gun-free zone. Mr. Lott, in his column, which I urge on you, also points out that going back deeply into the records of some of these killers, they have actually said they picked it because it was a gun-free zone. You don't know that because nobody emphasizes that, because it might suggest maybe they shouldn't be gun-free zones. Maybe the people who benefit from it being a gun-free zone is the mass killer. The reason for that is that a mass killer sees a sign, right? Let's just play it out. A mass killer, an organized criminal, or a hitman sees a sign that says gun-free zone. And he said, "Oh, I'm not going to go here. You can't bring a gun." Well, wait a second. He's going there to do something a lot worse than breaking the law about bringing a gun into a gun-free zone, right? He's going to do murder, which is the worst crime in humanity. This is the whole problem with gun control. I wish we could all suspend our prejudices and our biases, and we have to be right. And we can't think that maybe we've been wrong all our lives about something. Boy, there are things I've been wrong about. Wow. Just got to calm down into a new state and say the following. Sometimes analyzing words is enormously important. Here's the word control. The word, well, I have a call, but I think I'm going to have to do away. I'm going to have to do away with that call. Go away. The word gun control. Gun control law indicates that this is going to put controls on people, and everybody is happy. People who have criminal records, people who are mentally ill, people who have indications of great violence, people who are too young cannot have guns. Now we're safe. Except these mass murders occur in states that have the most stringent gun control laws, like New York, like this one, Minnesota, and they occur in ones that have relatively few gun control laws. So I think if you are not even a fair-minded person, but a person that loves children and is seeking a solution, which is not going to come from accepted ideology, because if it did come from accepted ideology, one or the other would have put it in effect when they were in power. We simply don't know well enough how to contain these shootings. It's true of all the crimes that I dealt with. And I hate to say this, but I was absolutely the best at analyzing the characteristics of a crime so that we could quickly solve it, which is why no one's ever reduced crime, no mayor ever, even close to what I did in the period of time that I did. But I didn't do it with, and I had great people to help me, Bratton and of course Bernie Carrick and Howard Safer, but the deep in detail things, that characteristics of a crime that I picked out that we used is what got us very, very quick solutions. Someday I'll illustrate all of them. I remember them as if it was yesterday. But what we have to discover about this is, and we have to do it without reference to our prejudices, what are the most common characteristics that occur? They're never going to occur in all, but in a disproportionate number of these. Well, one of them is, and even if it isn't in the majority, I think it is, but it's often enough mentioned, including by this guy and several others recently, gun-free zone. Wouldn't that suggest that it would be valuable to have law enforcement people with guns there? And wouldn't it also suggest that it would be valuable, particularly for people who are extremely comfortable with guns? of which there are people all over America. We have probably more gun owners in this country than any place else, and we have probably the most expertise than any place else. But if a teacher were comfortable having a gun, it'd be good to say, in this school, there are teachers with guns. The murderer doesn't know which teacher has a gun and which teacher doesn't have a gun. Believe me, that works. I'll give you an example. There used to be a time that you're going to find this example different, but this is how I solve crime, with these analogies. Used to be a time they'd steal every radio in a car if it was a good radio, and they had the experts. I mean, I brought car theft down 90%. Please, please listen to me. I really know what I'm talking about. I can help. So they would get in the car and they pull out your radio. I was a victim of it twice. And what slowed it down before I solved it? First thing that slowed it down was not to have a radio. Second thing that slowed it down was to make it look like you didn't have a radio, which could be accomplished by having a mobile radio, which was annoying, but you put it in and you took it out, put it in, took it out, took it with you to your girlfriend's house, took it with you to the movies, stuck it in your pocket, did whatever. The third thing was what I had my dearly departed friend, who's going to go and give his eulogy next week, Elliot Cooker. Elliot built something for me. He built a plastic, beautiful piece of plastic that fit the decor of the very old the very old car that I had, but it was a beautiful old car. He was a classic car salesman, and you just put it over it. Well, first two times I had left this car out on the west side of Manhattan, within the 12-hour period that it stayed out, the radio was stolen. First one, 4 weeks later, the second one. He put that on, I left it out, never got stolen again. And I know why, and that's why I did it. They don't want to take any time. They have so many sure things, right? So they go along the street, they see the radio, it's an easy car to break into, they break in. Boom. You put any obstacle in their way, they move on to the next car. Any obstacle, that means it's going to take time, because if they take time, instead of stealing 20 radios, they can only steal 5. And if you have any suspicion that somebody's looking, somebody's watching, somebody may be, then you don't do it, because there are plenty of places to do it where they don't. So the idea of having the possibility that there are a lot of people there with guns is going to stop them from doing it. And these people want to succeed, like terrorists. That's why terrorists rarely hit hard targets. That isn't just that they're afraid of being killed. They want to die. They're afraid of failing their whole purpose. At the point that this maniac was doing this, I will suspect his psychology was, this was the single most important thing in the world for him to succeed. This was the meaning of his life. I know this is sick, but if you read the sickness, you can tell this is the meaning of this man's life, to kill children. And it was children. That was the focus. Yes, the school, yes, the church probably has some connection to him going there and his mother being there. But there's something else, that he wasn't going there to kill the priest. So if it was purely religious, that may have been the thing he would have done. He didn't go kill the teachers. In fact, he says something in one of the crazy ramblings that he doesn't particularly want to kill adults. He specifically wanted to kill as many children as possible, and took pleasure and took sinister pleasure in it. They're going to be scrambling. They're going to be scared. Their prayers aren't going to help them. So all of a sudden, if he's confronted with a school that says, no, guns are welcome here, he's not going there. Probably. You never solve crime 100%. You reduce it. We sure have to reduce this. There's a second thing. So you got to pull that characteristic out. And you have to not be afraid of political correctness that says, oh, it has to be gun control. Because if it was gun control, this crime wouldn't have taken place. Now, they may yell and scream and try to act like you're a fool, but you have the confidence that you're the intelligent one, and they're not. They're the babbling who knows what. There's a second thing. There's too many of these transgender situations going on. And there has to be a serious examination of the consequences of the inhuman, indecent, immoral, horrible things we're doing to young people about gender. They are abnormal. They're against science. They're against any form of accepted morality. And they have the capacity, certainly, to make people who already have a mental problem have an exacerbated mental problem. And it begins with the fact that there's no recognition that this is a mental problem that has to be dealt with as a serious fight from reality. I don't know if you've ever studied psychology either in college or more seriously, or there are a lot of definitions of schizophrenia, and many people think schizophrenia means double personality. No, it does not. That is not schizophrenia. That's something else. It's two personalities. Schizophrenia, I guess, could best be described because it's not as bad as autism, but it has a very broad range of definitions. But the core of it is a fight from reality. The core of schizophrenia is you're not living in the real world that you're in. But you want the classic, don't make fun of it. It happens. I've met them. People who think they're Abraham Lincoln, people think they're George Washington, people think they're Ronald Reagan, or people going around thinking they're Trump. Nobody thinks they're Biden because they don't want to be demented. So even crazy people. But so and then of course that's sort of a dramatic. I'd have to ask a psychiatrist how rare. The reason I know about it was, gosh, when I was 24 years old, and I used to be in the U.S. Attorney's Office, and like a rookie, you would get a complaint duty. And for 1 week, you had to spend your day being available. So you had to make sure you didn't go to trial that week. You had to spend your time being available in between researching and preparing cases to interview anybody who came in to make a complaint. Now, a lot of the people that came in to make a complaint about serious crime. But for some reason, there weren't too many places for these people to go. And they had run out of places to go. So we used to say it then, nut jobs, but you can't say it that way now. People who were mentally challenged, I guess is the way you would say it now, Ted. But people who were mentally challenged would come in, and they come in with all kinds of problems. The two most frequent was somebody, very often the CIA, was reading their brainwaves. And they were knowing everything they would do because there'd always be this man who would show up wherever they went. And they had some of them, that was it. Some of them had these elaborate things as the reason why they were inventing the cure to cancer, or they had a weapon that was better than the atomic bomb, or you go on and on. And then a number of them thought they were somebody. I'd say a lot, but we had it wasn't absolutely startling. We get a George Washington. Okay, what's the illness? The illness is he isn't George Washington. He's convinced that he is. More than likely, if you gave him a polygraph test, he'd pass a polygraph test that he's George Washington, or that the CIA has taken his brainwaves. Okay, I'm born. I have a penis. I'm a male, like this guy was a male. But I think I am a female. And that's the completion of me as a female. Now, very few people are like that. It could be 1 or 2% of the population. Well, at least it has been that way for about 2,000 years. And that's a serious illness. And it should not be treated as the minute you suggest God forbid somebody should say, God, I think it'd be better being a girl. You get a lot more advantages. I think that guy have his penis chopped off before he knew what he was doing. Because everybody would be able to take down 400 grand. Don't discount that either as why this has gotten so bad and why healthcare has gotten so bad in America. Why is it that Europe can come out with objective tests on these things and America can't? You look at the European tests, we're committing horrible sin here with what we're doing with gender. England doesn't allow any kind of mutilation of a kid until 19 years old, even with the parents' permission. Some other countries later, studies come out from these countries saying you're more likely to commit suicide if you change your gender than if you don't. Meanwhile, the psychiatrists here and all of the industry that's making millions off this tells you, at the earliest instance, you better watch out. You're going to have a dead kid. Well, what they should tell you is you have a better chance of having a dead kid if the kid changes his gender than if he doesn't. That the vast majority of kids who have this ideation change it after a period of time. Gosh, he's an example. Right in his notes, very lately, he's saying, I really do think I'm a boy now. So this is a serious mental illness. People with mental illnesses are not supposed to get guns. He got a gun. He got a gun after his mother changed his name from Robert to Robin. If it were recognized as a mental illness, he would not have been able to get a gun. When she applied for the change of name from girl to boy, given the fact that there was a transgender attack like this at the Lakewood Church by a transgender person at the Perry High School in Iowa, in Kensington, Philadelphia. One was Yvonne Moreno, Dylan Butler, Kim Brady Carica. This was a person posing with an AR-15 and pretending to be shooting it. Transgender Kyle Denker. This is all within the last 2 years. The Covenant Christian School, of course, was the very, very famous one that they did everything they could to cover up. That was Audrey Elizabeth Hale, Covenant Christian School in Nashville. That was only in 23. Highland Park. I mean, you remember these names, don't you? We go back to 2018 in Aberdeen, Rite Aid. Snatria Mosley, Devin Erickson at Highlands Ranch in Denver, along with Alec McKinney, both trans. Those numbers are numbers that if you had any other condition, unusual condition, I mean, if they were all white people, whoa. Oh, suppose they were a member of white nationalist group. Whoa. So this isn't about political correctness. This is about the lives of our children and one of the most vexing and most difficult problems we've had and we haven't been able to solve. It means we've been analyzing it the wrong way. We've been analyzing it from our political prejudices rather than from an open mind. If you analyze it based on what you're learning from these people as these things happen, two of the things that emerge that we're ignoring is they largely do not, they largely happen in gun-free zones. And number two, much more often than is comfortable, they're a transgender person. Now, people are going to say we're being mean to transgender people and we're picking on them. And actually, we're not being, if we're right, we're not being mean at all to them. I said they have an illness. It's not treated. You're being mean to somebody when you're advocating for illness to be treated? And then, of course, we can't just think of the transgender person. We've got to think of the effect that it has on, they're innocent, uninvolved people that are involved here. So I'm going to feel a lot better when people start talking about that and discussing it, and we start to seriously look at it. Otherwise, I'll have to depend on Europe to do it, because there you have the same political prejudice that we have that blocks thinking about it, but you don't have the great, tremendous corrupting influence of money. If this turns out to be correct, and this is the wrong way to handle this, these people may have to work, and they certainly won't be billionaires. Just like the people with the vaccine wouldn't have been trillionaires if they hadn't pulled that homicidal hoax on us. So let's see what else comes out about this as we move along. Last night we had an excellent discussion by Ali Reza about the snapback provisions. The snapback provisions arise from the nuclear treaty. Well, it wasn't a treaty because you couldn't get it past the Senate. The nuclear sellout by Obama and the West that would allow Iran to delay but become a nuclear power in 10 years. But also had numerous loopholes. But it did have something in it where it suspended these worldwide sanctions. So these go beyond just the sanctions that we use. These are sanctions then that would be imposed by every nation on Iran. So it says, however, that if they are not complying, if they don't satisfy that within 30 days, and it isn't in a situation of compliance at renewal time, then these onerous worldwide sanctions of not doing business with Iran snap back into effect. I believe that date now, and the time is running, is the end of September. And no one has submitted an answer, a defense of them. And one of the signatories has to do that. And then it has to be decided. And it has to be done, it all has to be done within 30 days of the time. And at this point, it's not really, wouldn't say it's unlikely that someone will submit a defense. Russia or China might, although they don't seem to be as willing to back Iran as they used to be when they saw what a pathetic loser Iran is, how Israel so easily put them in their place, and then the U.S. made total fools out of them. I mean, it was only massive air attack where a bullet wasn't shot at the invader. It was like practice. I mean, they didn't know it. Our people didn't know it, and therefore it took great courage to do it. But having gone through it, it turned out that they were incapable of mounting a defense. Who knows what else they're incapable of mounting a defense against? They're sitting there like a duck ready to be, right in front of you, 10 feet away, strapped down, and boy, you got to be blind to miss it. So, question is anybody going to come in and try to save them from this? Because I don't know if this is correct. Ali Reza thought it was, and I do rely a lot on his judgment. He's been involved in this revolution for 40 years, and at the point of where he's been almost killed a couple of times. So I said, in some ways, is it possible that this is more effective even than a military strike? Because it renders them, at the point of starvation. And they are protesting much more than the media lets you know. Why the media is partial to them, I don't know. I mean, I get the Russia-China thing, because a lot of these kids were kids or grown-ups or have been trained as Marxists, and therefore, and been educated, not just in the Ivy League schools, in many schools, to hate America and to approach American history like, tell me what they did wrong, as opposed to But I mean, it's a lot easier to study American history from what we did wrong because it's a lot shorter. And then, of course, they exaggerate what we did wrong into things that we didn't do wrong. But America's the target for these people. Why? Because the Marxists took over our education a long time ago, certainly our public education, eventually our universities. And it's one that wants to see this system of government changed and wants us in, well, some would like us to be a socialist, communist government. Some would like us to be a one world government where we didn't have a nationality. Hence, open the borders, let everybody come in. They can speak any language they want. So these snapback provisions could result in the overthrow of the Ayatollah, who, the poll that I found, and I hardly am an expert on polls in Iran, but it did say 80% of the Iranian people would like the Ayatollah out, and 60+%, 5 or 8, I don't remember, would like it to be a government that is not a religious theocracy or a religious dictatorship, which means they want it to be a government like the one that the National Council for Resistance to Iran, the MEK, and Mariam Rajavi and all of her people, including Ali Reza, have for a number of years, certainly all the time I've been involved with them, have put out a 10-point plan and lived by it in their provisional government, which is that women have full and complete rights. They are against capital punishment because of the shocking number of murders in Iran. The two Ayatollahs are probably in a good competition with Xi Jinping as to killing the most of their own people. And they are for the full rights of women, demonstrated by the fact that the leader, the acting president, is a woman. And her cabinet, which would be a shadow cabinet, is made up of I don't know if it's hopefully not a mathematically half and half, because that always leads to the more, but to a very large share of women, a very large share of men. And the women also, not all are not qualified, but many of them participate in the military. And when I say participate in the military, they have been and can be involved in combat. So I would say that this snapback provision is one that we sure shouldn't get in the way of. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it happen. But we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. And we're going to begin what we're going to do, if not every day, on the days leading up to the anniversary of September 11. We're going to talk about one hero or another. And there's one very appropriate for today. And we'll be right back.
Welcome to Vocal, the free speech social app that gives you a platform to amplify your voice, speak freely, connect boldly, and be part of a growing movement for truth, faith, and freedom. Want to know what's happening right now? The Now Playing feature shows you exactly who's live and what's streaming in real time. Check out the show's feed, a non-stop lineup including LindellTV News 24/7, shows and on-demand programming all in one place. Connect with your favorite host and never miss a show. Explore the featured page for quick access to LindellTV's top shows. Follow your favorites and watch their newest content flow right into your feed. And when they go live on Vocal, you can join the live chat and be part of the action. Ask questions, share your thoughts, even help shape future shows. Stay informed on issues around securing our elections by following your state's Cause of America account. Join a group and connect on a deeper level, from faith and freedom to the future of our nation. Go to vocal.com or download the app today and be a part of the mission to save our country.
Too many pharmacies and insurance companies are blocking the medications that actually work. That's why I recommend All Family Pharmacy. They give you access to treatments like ivermectin now, starting at just $2 a capsule. They also have methylene blue, hydroxychloroquine, and so much more. They're helping you stay prepared, and they've dropped their prices by 25%. Also use promo code LindellTV, you save even more. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Use promo code LindellTV and get the medicine you need. With everybody talking about making America healthy again, I thought today'd be a great day to talk to all my fellow patriots about the importance of making your homes healthy again. Well, we have proudly partnered with airwaterhealing.com and their revolutionary whole home air purification system. The V3 from Air Water Healing does 3,000 square feet of purification. It eliminates dust, mold, viruses, and odors. But here's the part I love. They require no filters to ever be changed and virtually no maintenance. Whether you suffer from asthma, allergies, seasonal bronchitis, or just want to protect your family from the flu or even greater threats, don't wait to get your V3 from airwaterhealing.com today. Use code Lindell for 20% off in savings and free shipping. That's promo code Lindell at airwaterhealing.com. Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family, feeling your best is the key to doing the things you love. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Nirvanta. It's a natural solution designed to help you stay active and live well naturally. Nirvanta is a topical blend of all natural essential oils like frankincense, myrrh, and a proprietary gold standard plant stock extract. It's perfect for your hands, feet, knees, back, or anywhere else that needs a little extra care. Use Nirvanta proactively as part of your daily maintenance routine, and you're guaranteed you're going to feel the difference. Simply massage Nirvanta in for at least 60 seconds, 2 to 3 times a day to get the best results. And if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back. No questions asked. There's simply no risk and no reason not to try Nirvanta today. Right now, you get 15% off with code Lindell exclusively at nirvantahealth.com. So stop reaching out for that medicine cabinet. Get Nirvanta instead and experience the difference. Go to nirvantahealth.com. Use code Lindell to get 15% off today. Nirvanta Health. Live well naturally. If you want to drop extra pounds, boost energy levels, and reduce swelling in your legs and feet, then this message is for you. Pure Health Research is on a mission to make America healthy again. And 2 of their best-selling health supplements are leading the way. First is Liver Health Formula. Over 100 million Americans have a sluggish liver that's riddled with fatty deposits. This can kill your metabolism, pile on the pounds, and make you feel tired. Liver Health Formula takes care of that. It supports thriving liver health with special nutrients like artichoke extract and milk thistle. This is one of the easiest ways to slim down and revitalize your energy levels. Next is lymph system support. If you struggle with fluid buildup or swelling in your legs, ankles, and feet, this is for you. The natural ingredients in lymph system support help gently flush away extra fluid and toxins out of your body. And right now, for a limited time, you can get 35% off Liver Health Formula and Lymph System Support, along with 50 plus other health supplements that Pure Health Research has to offer. So head over to purehealthresearch.com and use promo code Lindell at checkout. That's purehealthresearch.com, promo code Lindell to save 35% on your order today.
Welcome back to the Rudy Giuliani Show on, as you see, with our friend on there, LindellTV. I have to tell you, it's really a great pleasure for me to be on LindellTV for many, many reasons, including the fact that Mike is one of the great patriots who has sacrificed so much for the cause of beautiful America, a real America, what America has to be. And you know that, and we're gonna do it at some point. I really would like to do a special on that. Not that there aren't lots of other people, but there are very few at the level of Mike. And then you can do it as a tribute to all of the others who went through this. But here's a different point that I want to make about Mike. Totally different. I've been watching television since it started. I used to listen to radio. I've seen the great pitchmen, you know, in New York, of course, they had some Arthur Godfrey, who was the first one that you could sell anything to women. He was like a 9 to 11 o'clock radio television show. I don't know if it was a radio show. No, maybe it was an hour. It was the Arthur Godfrey Hour, I think. And then he stretched it to 2, and then he moved to Miami. And the main thing that he had going for him was all the women loved him. For reasons it's very hard to understand, he was not like, he wasn't like one of these made-up, created characters that looks more like a mannequin than a human being, like the governor of California. He's like a regular-looking guy. But he was a great pitchman. Wow. And there have been a lot of them. Crazy Eddie is the famous one in New York. I don't know if Crazy Eddie was international or not. But Crazy Eddie, I think he sold cars. But he was like over the top. I'm Crazy Eddie, and we got the greatest cars. In only 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. They're all going to be gone. Look at these cars. Look what we got. Crazy Eddie will make any deal with you want. I mean, and he would. It was hilarious, but it worked for a while. Mike is fabulous. Some of his ads I can watch over and over and over again, and there's one particular that I really love, and it's the one where he sees the person in his bathroom mirror. And it's because I've lived in a New York apartment so often, and I keep thinking, what the hell is on the other side of my bathroom? He opens it up, and then the people are there, and they're questioning him. I've seen it 100 times. I've laughed 100 times. There are times in which my friends like Ted or Dr. Maria actually have wanted to take me in for an examination to see what's wrong with me because I laugh at it all the time. Well, now I want to do something very serious. Oh my goodness, there are so many people you could mention about September 11. The heroes, the bigger than life heroes, the regular heroes, the victims, the innocent victims, people who have been, people who died then and the people who died later and people who are dying now. You could talk about the fact that for Obama and the pro-Islamic terrorist politicians have done everything they can to stop you from realizing, you know, the other attacks on America, we know who attacked us, right? I mean, we haven't been attacked that often. We were attacked by the British. Okay? We were attacked by the British. Who were we attacked by on September 11? We were attacked by the Islamic extremists. Now, are they extremists, or are they people who follow one interpretation of the still existing material in the Quran, which I could find for you right now and read to you, who might feel completely justified based under the plain meaning of the words of the Quran to come and kill us like that. Unfortunately, when they attacked us, I knew who they were. And I was not under any illusion about Muslims for several reasons. One, I studied comparative religion because I want to be a priest. I knew the Muslim religion was a religion of, in large part, a religion of war and violence. Not all. Both can be justified from the same book. The invocations to violence, although you would say there were things in the Old Testament that are things that would never be done today, it's not filled with it. The second half of the Quran is permeated by it because people who don't study history do not understand that the Muhammad that they posit as the founder of their religion went through two phases. One scholar who is fairly objective about this refers to it as the Mecca Muhammad and the Medina Muhammad. And the Medina Muhammad was the Muhammad that preached peace, coming together. because he actually thought, and maybe he had high hopes. I don't know. I don't know if the man, how mentally ill he was. I know he was mentally ill, but he thought he could reconcile Judaism, Christianity, and his religion. And he was an opponent of polytheistic religions that didn't believe in one God, religions that had nature gods or other things. And he found two others that were monotheistic, Judaism, although he had a caveat with Christianity because of the Trinity. And at the time that he was reacting, which is the early church, there wasn't any division among Catholics, Christians, whatever, on the Trinity. Nor is there any division between the Roman Catholic and Orthodox churches on the Trinity. And those are the two churches that really existed and have that long history. Protestant churches were created really 1,1400 years after Christ. So when you talk about 9/11, to me, you're talking about an Islamic attack on America, justified by those people based on their predominant religious literature, the Quran and the Hadith, in which those words justifying what they did exist and encouraging them to do it. So I understood exactly what happened to us, and I understood it was going to be far-reaching, and it wasn't going to end with that. I was, well, I don't know how I reacted originally. I went on, I put myself in a suspended animation. I just said, I have to be a model for my people. I can't cave in. I can't give in to my reaction. I was being notified over and over again of losing, first of all, people I knew, and then people who were very close friends. And people that I expected would be there, and people that I never expected would be dying. And one group that reaches you and just sears your heart. And when you had these situations, and we had it with the Langones too, relatives of Ken Langone. I think everyone knows Ken Langone. He's on television a lot. He's a very, very brilliant financial, one of the founders of Home Depot, and also one of the major contributors to the Republican Party, and just one of the greatest characters you're ever going to meet. Two of his relatives, one police officer, one a firefighter, died. We had a few of those situations. We had a father and son, but this was probably the one that I shouldn't say that. They all really hit a nerve. But this one really hit a nerve. The Viggiano family. Joseph Viggiano was a legendary member of the fire department. He is one of the great chiefs. Then the fire department is sometime, maybe during the course of, as we lead up to 9/11, I will describe the New York City Fire Department to you. It's an extraordinary, unusual organization. And it's its own thing. And the reason that it exercises heroism beyond compare, beyond imagination, is because it's its own thing. Is all of it? Would you, in some kind of a perfect world, so that more of them didn't get hurt, want to change it? Yeah. Can you change it a little and modify it a little? Yeah, I did. Would you change it completely? Man, I wouldn't break the formula. Because I could sit here and I would get off the point and tell you from the time I was a child, the number of people saved by them that I don't think it'd be saved by another fire department. Sorry, please don't get angry at me, other fire departments. It could easily be my prejudice. And in fact, my uncle was a fire captain who was one of my big heroes, because when I was a little boy, he got really injured, and I went to the hospital for him, and he had a broken back, and he was never going to walk again. They didn't even walk again. He was a firefighter for 20 more years. He became a captain, and he got injured again. And there was no doubt when he was sitting there and in the hospital in horrible pain, not sure he'd ever walk again. He's going to be a firefighter. And he told me how much fun it was. Well, it changed this is why the firefighters are often relatives of other firefighters. When I say firefighter, it's perfectly legitimate for you to say, oh my goodness, I don't want to be a firefighter. I don't think I'd want to run into fire. It's not exactly a natural thing to do. But when you get into the culture of a fire department, when you get into, and you're a man particularly, and please don't get angry, ladies, men are brought up this way, and we have been for a long time, and it's been pretty good for the wars we've had to fight and the things we've had to deal with. When you're brought up as a man, it is a test of your courage. And real men probably admire courage beyond any other characteristic. And if you are an honest man and a real man, you always doubt. You're never sure. You're never sure. How are you going to react when the gun is pointed at you and a woman, and they say, "We're going to take one of your lives. Will you sacrifice your life?" How are you going to react? You tell me you don't. Well, in any event, the Vigianos, now, if I'm correct, I think I wrote this down from, actually wrote this down from something I have from the eulogies. I believe that the family has been, and I believe firefighters for over 160 years. Now, that's very, very important. But the most important thing is the patriarch, Joseph Vigiano, legend. And the fire department, even more than the police department, because the fire department is more of a family, have legends, like an Indian tribe. This was the great chief. His two sons, John became a firefighter, like Dad. Joseph, however, was a rebel, I guess. He became a cop. Not only did he become a cop, he became a great cop. And I got to know Joe before September 11, and I knew about his dad, and I was confused as hell when I first met up with Joe, because Joe became very friendly with my police commissioner, Bernie Carrick. They were the same. I'll tell you how they became friendly. Joe said to Bernie, who had more medals than any cop I ever knew, and all the cops respected him for that. But Vigiano said to him, "You want to go up on top of the Brooklyn Bridge with us?" Bernie said, "No, I don't want to go on top of the Brooklyn Bridge. What do I want to go on top of the Brooklyn Bridge for?" I said, "Well, every police commissioner says they're going to do it, and they all punk out because they have the balls." That's all you had to say to Bernie, right?
Right.
Bernie was going to fly off the Brooklyn Bridge if you said that.
I can just imagine.
Somehow, one day, I'm sitting in City Hall on a Saturday, a beautiful sunny Saturday, working. I get a call from my police commissioner. I figure, oh my God, it's a shooting. It's a hostage situation. It's a, who knows what, a terrorist attack. And the police commissioner didn't call me up to say happy birthday. And it's Bernie. He says, "Boss." I hear all this wind in the background. I said, "What's going on, Bernie?" He said, "Look out your window." I said, "Why do I want to look out my window?" He said, "No, look out your left window." I said, "Are you kidding me?" He said, yeah. If you look up, maybe you'll see the top of the Brooklyn Bridge." I said, "No, I got to go to the other end of City Hall to see that." He said, "Well, yeah, it's worth it." I said, "What am I going to see? Is something going on? We got a crime up there? Is something, a jumper?" My uncle had taken 4 people down from the top of the Brooklyn Bridge. So when I heard top of the Brooklyn Bridge, I thought, oh, somebody's trying to commit suicide. Always very dangerous for the cop. He said, no. So I went to the other end of the City Hall, went into the city council chamber, and luckily, Peter Vallone was a good friend of mine, so they would let me in. And I was a Democrat. I was a Republican. They were a Democrat. I look out the window. I look as carefully as I can. I don't have binoculars or anything. I see these people up there, and these people are waving. I'm thinking, oh my, it's actually dangerous to wave up there. Then I go outside and I look really carefully. Now they get me binoculars. And there's my Bernie, my police commissioner, and Joe. I said, well, when you guys have finished, stop in and we'll have lunch or something. We got to talk about this. We wasn't sure he was in trouble or not. Of course, I was impressed as hell. And they all came in, and that's when I met Joe for the first time. And Joe was part of ESU. He was a hero in ESU, Emergency Services Unit. My uncle served 17 years in ESU, so I was duly impressed. My uncle was my hero beyond hero. 3 medals in the police department, 2 medals in the Navy. My uncle knew him, knew his reputation. Great kid, my uncle said. Big balls. That's how I first met the Vigianos. Met him a number of times later because Bernie bring him along for things. Eventually met Mr. Vigiano, who would come to fire department things, and I met the other brother, John, who was a firefighter and also decorated. Well, the long and short of it is the 2 of them died on September 11th. The 2 of them died on September 11th. John responding as a firefighter, and Joe responding with the smaller number of police officers who responded, but disproportionately the ESU, Emergency Services Unit. I mean, they're the ones who can go up in the top of buildings. So we're going to have to take a break now, move over to X, where we'll complete a little bit more of the Vigiano story, which I'm sure you're going to want to stay for the conclusion. And we'll be back on Monday, and we want you this weekend, particularly to pray this weekend, particularly to stick it up the backside of Little Red Riding Hood and the boy mayor of Minneapolis and the atheistic, satanic Democrats who have done one hell of a job of driving God out of America and prayer. And the nerve of them to say that we shouldn't pray when families are grieving, whose children were in a Catholic church praying. I mean, if you ever would not say that, that was the time not to say it. And if you could ever draw the conclusion this party has outlived its usefulness, this is it. We need an opposition party, but it doesn't have to be anti-America. It doesn't have to be anti-God, and it doesn't have to be anti-human. Well, God bless America, and pray